we're going to move on then to Sunday's game, where France host Italy in the all-mainland European derby, if you want to look at it that way.
Battle of the Blues, Mediterranean melee. One-sided mismatch, whichever kind of moniker you want to put on the game.
This one's going to be at the Stade de France in Paris. It kicks off at 3 o'clock on Sunday. It's going to be reffed by Mike Adamson and Nika Amushkeli, the Georgian referees on the sidelines. His star continues to rise with Damon Murphy and Brett Cronin of Rugby Australia in the box. Just even from a colour point of view, starting by just looking at this French team, this all singing, all dancing, wonderful French team. It's getting to that stage now. We said it about Scotland as well, but I think
same criticisms have to arise. When are you going to win something? And you would have thought like that Australian tour. That Australian tour, like that last play with the crazy wild stuff where you just had to kick it off and they failed to do that, and it's like wild because for each one of those moments you have that moment of just Entimac gloriously gliding out of his own end zone and finding a no-look ball to break New Zealand hearts, and like they're from the sublime to the absolutely ridiculous. But what is tough about that is that the Six Nations is a long campaign, and that's what's useful about it in terms of World Cup prep, which is what they are focused on ever since the last World Cup. It's 2023 in France. That is at the forefront of their minds, but part of preparation for that has to be just ticking off a trophy along the way.
I mean, and they beat the All Blacks, and positivity is really high, and they have a famously good squad. But things are ratcheting up now. I did take this quote from Galtier, who was saying, 2 years ago when I took up the position, people tapped me on the shoulder and said, good luck. Now people tap me on the shoulder and say, we can win, we need to win, we have to win competitions, you have to win, and that's it, and it's changed.
It's probably a good thing. He's happy with that.
He was treating that as a positive.
It is a positive.
Absolutely. That just puts them on track, but it also ratchets up the pressure and means that those moments when things go wrong will be more costly if they do come to this French team, obviously coming off a historically good win against the All Blacks, where in moments they were just fantastic.
Absolutely. Looking the best team in the world for those brief moments, and they very much do. Regardless of what the ranking is, when they are in flow, it's just like, who can live with this team? It's amazing.
They see things that other teams don't see. They're all in sync with one another. They have deceptive speed advantage and lovely synchronized offensive play between forwards and backs, but they have a physicality and explosivity, a pace and a rugby vision and style that is so unique and so tough,
as well as a couple of years now under, or 3 years under an Edwards defence as well, Sean Edwards, so it's just a bit more robust on their goal line. It's a bit quicker to fold around the corner, which during the mid-aughts and stuff was terrible crime of kind of unfit French teams of a few years ago, where they would just be caught slow on the fold and caught on the hop, whereas that's less of palpable of a problem in this side. And their defensive jackling's very good. Their defensive line-out's very good.
Yeah, they've added in Jaminet and Woki in particular. They've added strings to their bow in those two guys, because Woki comes in with those turnover line-outs, and Jaminet has this wonderful kicking
wonderful
game.
Boot. His boot has been stellar, both from the tee and in terms of exit. You were talking about before Jaminet popped on the scene. It has to be Boutier, because he's the only one on the whole team who can kick them from one side to the other, and otherwise they end up playing the whole game in their own red zone. They only visit the opponent red zone twice. They do score 2 tries when they're there, but it's not enough.
Indeed, absolutely. And a small concern, you were citing the defence, and it has been good, but they do have a tendency to switch off in moments.
They do.
And if you just look at their track record, actually, 8 of 11 games last year, they conceded 20 or more points, which is in Six Nations games is pretty tough. And Ireland were the only Tier 1 side not to put 20 on them, and that was obviously that sloppy Ireland team.
The start of that Six Nations campaign, where couldn't string anything together.
Exactly, but I mean, the other two were Georgia and Italy, and then that was it. Everyone else they played put 20 on them. So that's definitely a point of concern, especially if the games are going to be tight. That they might, and it's not even a systems thing so much as it's a switchy offy thing.
Yes, it is, which is a massive concern for them. It's just, how do you manage that from a coaching point of view? I don't know. How do you allow for it? It's like, well, if it's okay if we are 40 points up, it's a 10.
And it is, if that's what you can do every week. But the Six Nations is funny, and it is decided on small margins. And you look at, you're just gifting a Scotland a try at the end of that game in Paris. that adds up.
Yes.
You do that a lot, that adds up.
Indeed. And it's very tough to win a campaign that's 5 on the bounce with one result that may be decided by moments like that. And then the World Cup is 7 on the bounce.
Yeah, if they can
at least 6 on the bounce to win. And it's like, you got to iron out those bad habits to have any hope of going and winning the thing, which is exactly where their hopes lie.
Yeah, if they concede 20 in the 4 games that aren't the Italy game this year, that'll kill them.
Win all 4 of them.
That'll kill them
if they're doing that. Yeah,
that'll kill them. So they have to be careful.
Yeah.
Listen, we're going to just take a brief look at Italy as well.
Argument from their colours, like when will they win any of them? When will they register a table point?
Yes,
is the big
that would
question.
Be their first one since 2016. They are on a 5-year pointless streak in every sense of the word. And listen, their losing streak now in the Six Nations at 32. The last win was in February 2015 against Scotland. The last win in Rome was in March 2013 against Ireland.
Yeah.
It was Franco Smith's project for the last couple of years. He's actually moved on. He's now the director of high performance, and he's been replaced by the very impressive Kieran Crowley, who's obviously been Treviso's guard for the last few years, Italy won a test for the first time in 2 years in November at the expense of Uruguay, which is definitely a positive thing.
It was, however, it wasn't. We watched that game and it wasn't totally convincing from Italy. They were the better team. That much was clear, but it wasn't clear whether they were going to win it for the entirety of the game. Despite that, so it's very tough when you have a losing tradition like that.
It's not even a tradition; it's a personnel. Like they are a tier 2 team against in a tier 1 competition with brutally good teams that are improving at a faster rate than they are.
But it was also telling in that game, like they are a tier 2 team, but they are at the top echelons of that, and they came across a tired Uruguay at the end of their season, and like they did look the better side, but what was telling was that they didn't look confident with it. Like there's just that intangible thing of confidence. Like they haven't been used to being the better side on any pitch against any opposition for any length of time. So now that they are, what do they do with it? And the answers weren't wholly convincing, which was unfortunate because it was their one opportunity to get a win, and they did get that win, but it was still marred by being slightly ugly at times, which is unfortunate for them because now they go in and again, like no table points for the last 3 years, I think it is on the thing.
And they open this tournament with France, England, Ireland. And schedulers are just throwing them to the wolves as well, all on Sundays, all completely like it's just there.
It's got to be the focus for them is find a table point because otherwise that's the only way to chart some progression. So regular viewers of the podcast for the last few years are going to know where I'm going with this one. My macro point that goes into every Italy preview every year during the Six Nations is how do you get a table point? Well, now, if our defence averages a concession of 40 to 50 points per game, maybe improve that is one answer, but if they've tried improving for the last few years, the only possible way I can see them getting any table point is by scoring 4 tries in one game. And so
can you see them scoring 4 tries?
No, not particularly. I think it's still unlikely, but I still the second I can't fathom why they would go to Paris and have a decent opening stanza in the first 5 minutes, win a penalty, and chip over 3 points.
They want that 3-0 lead.
Don't do it.
They want to be able to screenshot the scoreboard.
3-0 is, to my mind, worse than 0-0 for Italy because it is one of their maybe 3, hopefully 4 chances to score in the game. And it's only 3. It's not going to help them get that table point at all, whereas 4 tries will. So that is my macro point for Italy, is just go for it and attack. You are the worst team. You are, as you were saying, a tier 2 side in a tier 1 comp. So your odds are slim. Your chances are very, very slight. You have a young enough team dynamic-wise. You do have decent attacking impetus through guys like Varney, through guys like Garbisi, who is now playing in top tours levels.
Doing pretty well.
Just back those guys to try and score against these. Like that's the only MO for Italy for me, is just go for it. Be brave, and then maybe you get rewards and you get that ugly donut off. Whatever about scrapping the donut off by chipping the 3 over in the game? What about the donut that's on the table for 3 years in a row? 0 points scored in the Six Nations. It's like that's the one that's got to go. So for me, that is my regular point. But be ready for that one over the course of the Six Nations, because Italy play a team every week, it turns out, and it's pretty much the same mantra from me, is just go for it. Try and score 4 tries.
Listen, looking at this game such as it is from the point of view of each side, obviously you're going to start with France. And just from a squad point of view, first of all, they have had some big positive news this week where they actually got a number of players back. They had a bit of a COVID scare. They had a few guys drop out.
It's curious semantically to say positive news. Positive, you mean good news.
Positive good news. They had some positive bad news before some positive good news. Yeah. But actually, like they were set to be without Cyril Bay, Winnie Antonio, the barrel-chested Barlow, Francois Croce, Jay Lange, Bernard Leroux, Antoine Dupont,
and
Ntamak, Jalibert, Lebel, Taufi Fanua. All back, all back and in good stead, and married with just like this wonderful list of options. They have, endless options and endless class all through their team. Teddy Thomas is going to be missing for the first couple of weeks, but they have embarrassment of riches to replace him. It'll be Jaminet at fullback, but Villiers will probably take one wing, and then you have a question: do you bring Pinot back?
Depends what they want to do. It's the Italy game. Like looking at their squad as a whole, I don't know if I could name a 15 that'll lose this game.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't. They're a fabulous bunch of players. They are missing Woki, which is unfortunate. That loses them some of that defensive line out impetus. But they do have Thibaut Flamand, who's burst onto the scene
as well. Yeah.
And then the likes of Willemse and Taufi Fanua, just a
and
huge.
Even Camara is a very good athlete in the Woki mould as well in that back row.
They could go like for like there, and Sekou Makalu is rangy in that way as well.
True.
But Cretan and Jay Lange is a wonderful line-out operator, and Greg Aldrott in there as well. Huge bunch of options. And then the question at halfback, it is the incumbent Dupont Ntamak after their masterclass against the All Blacks. But you do have guys like Kuyu and Jalibert who are pushing them all day as well.
Indeed.
And even Maxime Lucu is...
I think it was actually Ronan O'Gara during the week on, I think, because obviously he's coaching in France now the last couple of years, but he was saying of France that obviously they'll go with Dupont because he's a class above, but they literally, like there's guys like Lucu, there's guys like, and then even outside the squad, there's Saran, there's even Machino as well. There's probably around 12 test level nines. And it's like, it's true, there's just that Antoine Dupont is your global world player of the year caliber player at 9, and then there's the rest of them who are all brilliant. I really do envy France their stocks and their instincts at 9. I think all of them are bloody brilliant.
And then what about the guy like Gael Ficou as the class operator in the midfield, potentially with his club teammate now Vakatawa to link up with.
That I haven't quite seen at test level yet, but they also still have Jonathan Dante, who was obviously brilliant last year, got a fair few minutes out in Australia for them as well. They've quietly been building minutes across the park for all these guys. Part of it forced through injury, and then others just forced through different
the club situation with the Autumn Nations Cup, followed by the club situation with the test tour to Australia. It ended up helping them a lot because their B teams did really well, and now they just have an embarrassment of riches to choose from. I mean, it's like from a French point of view, it's a matchup based game plan where it's just about first of all offense. I love the instincts when they're on the ball between Dupont and Ntamak. They are always looking for that gap. They're always they're just testing you. They'll go. It's not necessarily a case of reading your defense as much as it is just testing you everywhere. Like Dupont will pick, he'll have a snipe, he'll dump the ball off if there's nothing there. Then Ficou will just throw it wide. Is there anything out here for our guys? Maybe Aldrott might fend a guy. Guys will pick lines off him. If that breaks down, they'll go back across the other end. Someone will be hitting a hard line. Like they just move the ball really well and then test you everywhere until you break. And they have wonderful clinical attacking tracking lines. And when the game breaks down and is crazy, like when a loose pass goes to ground, they just strike like nobody else. They really are really alive to the chaos.
Absolutely true. What they'll be looking for in terms of this game is exactly that. It'll be all offense. It'll be momentum for the campaign. I think it'll be a chance to get the home crowd in and get them raucous, treat them to a load of sexy tries and some lovely rugby. Be prepared for big challenge against Ireland next week, and then a break. So it's a good little starting block for France, and this is why a lot of bookies are touting France. Certainly, if you're looking at betting websites on the French side of the channel, then France are firm favourites for the competition. If you're in the England side, then England are favourites for the competition.
It's funny because people bet on themselves.
Indeed, isn't it? If you're in Ireland, actually, Ireland are slight favourites. That's right. That's funny. So it's just.
What about in Italy?
In Italy are not.
You probably get the most honest assessment.
You probably would. I haven't checked their odds makers, but no. From France's point of view, this is just a momentum builder for them. The only thing that could go I suppose in theory they could lose it, but the only thing that could come wrong is naming a slightly changed team and being a little bit disjointed and getting into a scrap.
They've got a great record of putting tier 2 teams away. Like they struggled against Georgia last autumn. They did. In times, they got bailed out by the ref a little bit in that game. They were unconvincing. Yeah. They were a little sloppy. They were a little dialed out. They can be temperamental in that way. Last year against Italy, they leaked some tries that they didn't need to leak. And Sean Edwards, I don't doubt, will be dialed into that fact of just like in the early parts of the game, they're going to be testing who Garbisi likes to get his runners going. They're going to try and get a good tempo going. Get after them.
Yes.
Stop them. Do not let this happen. You're bigger, you're stronger, and it's a case of Edwards getting the anger going and going, listen, I'm gonna work you into an early grave if you go out there and shame me.
You're definitely right, and that is an instinct, and that is something that could happen in this matchup. But one of the things that is a mitigating thing against that is like that was a warm up game before their eyes were on the All Blacks at the end of November.
This is for the November.
Yeah, but this is the first test of a new Six Nations campaign that they want to win in the Stade de France with a full crowd or close to full crowd. They'll want to perform there for it, and it is only Italy in front of them. So even with a few mistakes in the first quarter and a bit of dialed out stuff, I still think there's enough time for them to adjust and to cope with what Italy will be throwing at them, and to kind of impose themselves on Italy, be solid at set piece is one thing that they definitely should be, because the matchups are very good for them. And to be honest, going forward, it was a concern last Six Nations was just how their front row ended up matching up in the business end of the comp. So they'll want to be tidy now that they're starting against Italy. Momentum in all facets of the game, be as tidy as you can, rack up a score, put on a show. It's a Sunday.
Yes, is that how France do things? Tidy? I don't know. I think it could be messier than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, to look at it from Italy's point of view, first of all, just from a squad point of view, Crowley has gone with 23 of 33 in the squad from Benetton. Yes. Just 5 from Zebra, who have had a pretty disastrous year, and one that has been quietly really badly disrupted by COVID. It's always Zebra who seem to be missing out on games. They've had a very incomplete schedule so far. Yeah. But Tommaso Allen, I'm sorry to report, is Tommy again. He's
no longer
bowed out. Yeah. And Manozzi obviously did it last year as well. Like there's definitely
a lot of them saying like, no, I'd rather play.
There's a low end vibe wise. And there's no doubt about that.
Go in and get hammered 5 times and then come back to my club with no form. I'd rather just stay in my club and maybe win some games. Say some people.
It's rough. It has been rough for them, but they have to lean on some of the younger guys that are there. Like they kind of the same old heads up front. Michel Lamaro is the new captain. Listen,
he was brilliant last year.
Oh, totally. Well. He was walking to one of the big teams level good. He was making explosive plays. And they do have Negri and Bramstein back, fit and firing and ready to go.
Good to see. The back row stocks have always been the best aspect of this team, and it still is. And I think they are still planning. Did they name Parise in this? They're planning to give him a...
Correct. He's out for the first 2 weeks, but they are planning to give him his swan song now, 2 years later.
He didn't get at the World Cup because of there was typhoon trouble at that point, particularly.
It's been nothing but trouble since. God does not want you to retire in front of fans.
Indeed.
But no, finally he'll get his chance, and I think that'll be a very emotional moment, and hopefully that'll give them some good juju when it does happen in whatever game it is. But the back row stocks are really solid. There's some explosive playmaking in there, and they're all good turnover guys as well. And Italy do need turnovers because their defense leaks some points. So if they can generate turnovers, that's going to be big.
A halfback with Varney and even actually Bailey as well. They have guys who like to clear rucks quickly and play with kind of speed. They have a young 10 in Garbisi who likes putting width on the ball, likes running the ball.
He's also very good.
He is just really good. He's starting for Montpellier a lot of the weeks, and he's doing a very, very good job. Montpellier going very well this season in the top tours, and he's playing more rugby for them than Andre Pollard is. For sure.
In the midfield, obviously they've had their issues defensively and speed wise, but the combination of Brex, Marisi, and Zanon, 2 of those 3, 2 goes into 3. I certainly think Zanon's in there. Personally, I'd go Marisi, Zanon. Brex kind of just annoys me sometimes. Yeah. But I like that. I like that partnership from an offensive point of view. I think it's out there. To your point of being able to take tries, they have that. Yeah. And to be fair, in Monty Ioane, they have a top class finisher.
It needs to be about him. It needs to be about mission. Let's grab 4 tries by hook or by crook, and part of that mission is Monty Ioane. Like, he is an X-factor player for them. He was brilliant last year. He was coming up with just unreal plays, considering how blown out of all of those games they were. Just the fact that he was as involved as he is as a winger on a losing team, it speaks to his credit.
Oh, he's just a great player. He's just a really great player. And they do have those dotted throughout the team. They are missing Carlo Cano was dropped unceremoniously. I like Carlo Cano, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Marco Riccioni, the very impressive Saracens tight head, still not back available yet. And likewise Jake Pellegrini, who's had a really long stint on the sidelines now. So
he was obviously he was in brilliant form before that injury, but he's been out for so long now. So they're missing a few players, but it's good to see guys like Bramstein and Negri back as well. So there's the squad is what it is. There's obviously slightly vexing things like Tommy Allen. Obviously he's not pure. He was an under 20s. He was in Scotland, and now he's. No,
I would have. They would have had a use for him if
they would have. And as you were saying, it was Minozzi a couple of years ago doing the same thing, and that is a macro kind of negative. Is just like the carrot of playing in the Six Nations, which is a huge carrot for any certainly in Ireland should be for any player, but just the weary fatigue of these Italy campaigns. Something's got to change soon, so it's just got to be gung-ho, go for it. You've got a young profile. You've got guys like Monty Ioane. You've got good back row guys to create turnovers. Turnovers.
23 of this 33, actually 24, because Garbisi was there. They won a tournament, which is something so rare. They won the Rainbow Cup last year, kind of the makeshift tournament that they replaced the latter stages of the URC with, or the Pro 14 as it was in the time. They actually went and won that cup. It was very impressive. They played some good footy.
Are champions, and that will remain true forever, because I don't know if there's going to be a Rainbow Cup. But you're right in saying some silverware in Italy. I know.
They stepped up. Now listen, to be competitive at URC level is a good thing, and it's not where they were for a very long time. There's like URC, Europe, test level, so it is different. I don't get
France and Paris test level as well,
indeed, just through the roof. So I mean, it's not going to be the be all and end all, but it is good that they have that experience of winning, and they can be just a little more competitive, and maybe get back to that place where they could at least make it a game for 40-50 minutes, start with organisation, start with a good defence, get some turnovers, open up the game, score some tries, and then, before the inevitable crash towards the tail end, which will come when France click, and they're just not going to be able to live with them. But
indeed.
How do you see it going? How many points up for France?
Yeah, probably the same result. Well, wasn't it last year? It was bizarre how it was pretty much the same result between all of the big five in Italy. It was around 40-something or 50-something to 10. It was roughly
I can rattle through their results here. Last year's Six Nations, it was... you were right. You were right about France. It started 50-10 to France, then 41-18 to England, then 48-10 to Ireland, then 48-7 to Wales, then 52-10 to Scotland. So and 47-9 to the All Blacks.
Why did that game have to happen? That's what's good. And now Tommy Allen doesn't want to play anymore because they just end up having to go out and do games like that. That's no purpose served by that game at all. So I would say something 40-something or 50-something to 10.
You don't think any improvement?
No,
I'll go for an improvement.
And in 10 is
I'll say a scrappy France and a good Italy meet, and it's 33-16. How about that?
That'd be. I would love that game.
No bonus points.
But. No bonus points. The other little Michael thing, like go for 4 tries, is obviously my mantra to try and get that ugly 0 off their table points scenario. But the other little kind of mini goal that I give for tier 2 sides when they face tier 1 sides is try and score 20 points in the game. Somehow score 20 points. You'll be in a shootout because they'll be fancying attacking you. 20 points is up for grabs, but not if you start 3-6-9, then you're not going to score 20 points. So that's my only mission statement for Italy. For
33-16.
For France, I think it'll be just cruise control, la victoire, and momentum for the French to go rolling on with.
It's the least interesting game, but a good curtain raiser for this French team as well, and hopefully a chance.
Free momentum. Yeah, I hate that free momentum. We have to beat Wales to get any.
Sure. Listen, hopefully Italy can improve this year. But listen, that for now parks the Six Nations, and that is going to be the opening weekend. It's going to be meaty. It's going to be brilliant to have it back. We're really looking forward to all of those games this weekend. I don't doubt that you are. Let us know how you feel this one's going to go. How you feel all games are going to go. Down in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please do like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified when we upload again. But mainly, please drop a comment down below. We enjoy hearing your thoughts on it. Thanks.